Whether it's reliability problems, they're boring to drive, or they're just gross, 10 car brands that people would never buy again. Let's get into it now. Life's too short to drive boring cars. Why don't we start with Volkswagen? People generally like Volkswagens. A lot of the electric vehicles have a little pep in their step. A lot of the dual clutch gearboxes and certainly some of the turbo engines have a little bit extra oomph. They go well and people like the tech and they're affordable. They're in a price point and people just generally enjoy that from the driver's seat. Unfortunately, after owning for a period of time, many people are realizing that the average Volkswagen has all sorts of reliability issues, whether it's fixing a recall, fuel line leaks, wind noise, rattle, problems with all of the technology. A lot of people are just bored with it. There's worse vehicles, and that's why it would be considered an average level of reliability. The overall driving experience is good, but it's just not enough to offset the fact that people overall have an average, mediocre thought of owning another Volkswagen. Most people would say, nah, I'd rather not. I've had my taste. I've had my use. I've had my abuse. I'm good. Average owner of a Volkswagen in 2026 would just really rather not. And Consumer Reports ranks them at about a 65. Puts them well above the vast majority on this list, but things get worse. The next one on our list is Mercedes-Benz. Yes, I own a Mercedes, a 2018 C300, and I can attest, while it's not new, ours only has about 45,000 miles on it, and we've had a host of issues, from glitching electrical systems, blanking out issues, weird noises and squeaks from the front end, not sure what it is, and all kinds of faults and codes related to backup lights and cameras. Now, while it's fun to drive and we enjoy a driving experience overall, it's not until every once in a while, bing, you get that weird code. And so you find yourself dragging that vehicle down to the dealer only to spend another $1,500, $2,500, $3,500 just to get it sorted, fixed, and get you back on your way. It's certainly not a cheap car to maintain. A lot of people find with time they're dissatisfied massively. And that's why the overall reliability is just in the tank. And at a rating of 81, the overall driving experience is wonderful. That puts them high. People love driving these. Get behind the wheel, you feel like you're in a lap of luxury, but you're just heading down to the dealership to get another check engine light sorted out. Customer satisfaction of owning a modern day Mercedes in 2026 is rated at a 64 and puts it next in line as one of the worst vehicle brands that people would rather avoid. Now the next one is a domestic product, Chevrolet. And we know there's been no shortage of issues with recalls, problems with transmissions and engines. The average Chevy owner still kind of likes their vehicle. The overall satisfaction is reasonable. Ranks around 75. It ranks well. People like what the trucks do. They get truck duties done. The smaller SUVs, people enjoy those too. And of Corvettes, let's be honest, it's a popular choice. So a lot of Chevys are doing very, very well. And a lot of people love the Chevy products. Sadly, however, the reliability is in the toilet.
Pure, unadulterated crap.
People do still like their Chevys, but the reliability is not good. We've heard of all kinds of transmission problems with 10-speed autos in a lot of the GM trucks. We've certainly heard a lot of problems with the 6.2-liter engines and the problems with the crankshaft and the polishing and the oiling. Lots of issues there. The cylinder deactivation problems in a lot of their 5.3s. Lots of engine problems to the point where people are just running scared. Hey, wet belt, ring a bell? A lot of people aren't loving the smaller vehicles like Trailblazers and beyond. Now, of course, it feels like a lot of people are paying top dollars too, so that's part of the dissatisfaction in that you're paying a lot of money and getting a product that you feel isn't holding up. That's unfortunate because Chevy used to be a great brand and I truly love driving them. We had them around the farm and we would drive nothing but Chevy trucks, but times have changed. Chevy still ranks at 62. They're not at dead last, although they're close to the bottom. Chrysler. What do they make? Minivans? That's literally it. Not a lot of people loving those vehicles overall. Well, they love the idea. They drive it, they enjoy it. You get the big doors, the space, lots of room for the kidlings. It's a great family hauler. The problem is there's one vehicle, the overall quality isn't necessarily there, and people talk about that controls and knobs and buttons getting handed around and tossed around throughout the Stellantis parts bin. It just feels like a second 2-bit operation. You go out there buying them thinking, hey, this is going to answer all of our prayers. You come out of there, whoa, sweating, you feel beat up for it, and you're just not too satisfied with the overall experience of driving a Chrysler. Because the overall reliability of a Chrysler isn't good. Between transmission issues, oil consumption, clunking, exhaust leaks, electronic problems, 100%. Let's be honest, oil consumption is the name of the game. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, the average customer says, you know what, I'm not very satisfied with this, not what I expected, and people would just rather avoid that one like the plague. Chrysler has slipped down 9 slots down to number 61, means that it's sliding its way and eventually fall off the cliff.
Hello up there. I seem to have fallen down a cliff. I'm still alive, but I'm very badly injured.
Wait for another year or two, it'll be gone, in my own personal opinion. Now, the next one is really odd. It's Rivian, pure electric. You've seen the R1Ts and the R1Ss, and it's a nice alternative to driving a Tesla, and a lot of people have been getting on the bandwagon with Rivians. But let's be honest, as a startup electric vehicle manufacturer, they've had their share of problems. Problems with the covers, wheels, strange noises. But again, it's mostly tech-related that people are struggling with. Interestingly enough, people rank the driving experience at a 79, which puts it actually quite high. Now, the overall reliability... But that being said, that's really interesting because the overall customer experience is a double thumbs. They love it. Most people driving Rivians still sort of like it, even with all the issues. Maybe something that has to do with the alternative. I mean, what's a Tesla Cybertruck look like? Those aren't well loved either. Rivian isn't the bottom, but it does rank at a 58, which pushes it close to the bottom. Alfa Romeo is the next one, with a rank of 73 in the driving experience aspect. People like the way they drive. Have you ever driven an Alfa Romeo Quadrifoglio? Oh, I love it. They're absolutely wonderful. Whether you're driving the Stelvio or you're driving the Giulia, they're absolutely great vehicles. And even the base model vehicles, they're fun to drive. They look wonderful. I love the grille. Part of the problem is the reduced number of network availability or the access. If you live in a small town, it's hard to get access to the dealer. Some people complain there's been problems. A lot of it has been electrics. We've seen the reviews where it totally blanks out. But more importantly, what I see are battery issues, battery drain, battery draw. Because a lot of these modern day vehicles, if you don't drive your vehicles enough, the battery drops down, it sucks and saps a lot of the juice from the system, from the battery, and then when you go to start it next time, if you're only driving this thing every 2 weeks, it's not uncommon to have all kinds of weird faults and gremlins and blackouts, and that happens. The difference is, most people driving Alphas drive them occasionally, the odd Saturday night out. Most people don't daily drive them and pound out 300,000 miles, but the unfortunate part in not driving a vehicle, everybody knows that that's almost harder on a vehicle than putting miles on. There's been related issues with braking issues, some transmission problems, but by and large, it's been primarily electrical gremlins and inconsistencies and glitches and reboots and new batteries and battery drain. That's where the vast majority of the issues are. Now, it's a fun brand. Sadly, they don't sell as many as they should, but a lot of it is just a skepticism. A lot of it is just people are a little bit nervous and scared of the brand. They're a lot better than a lot of people give them credit for. I would put them heads to tails against any Audi or even modern day Benz these days. With a very, very poor level of overall reliability or expected reliability, customer satisfaction on these vehicles is actually reasonable. People do like driving these, and overall, after an ownership experience, very few people have lots to complain about. Most people, even they've had some issues, they still love their Alfa. And many buyers would look at their Alfa and say, you know what, I had a pretty good experience, because Alfa Romeo is not at the bottom of the list and it ranks at about 55 points. Now, another Stellantis product is Dodge. Well, we know what the scoop is. The driving experience ranks around a 55. They say, well, you know what, most people enjoy the way they drive? The Dodge Hornet. It's a fun, quick little spirited unit. The Dodge Durango. People like it. It's got 3 rows. It tows your boat to the cabin, but the durability isn't the most amazing. They've had quality issues, tip-em issues on previous generations, electrical gremlins. It's not the vehicle that people signed up for. They just don't have the longevity. You know what? If you want something heavy duty, the hauling capability and 3rd row, a lot of times that's where people just go to. They go to some of the Stellantis products because they're a little bit old school. They still do some of the older things, like make big vehicles on ladder frames, and they actually provide the basic necessity for hauling heavy loads around. The Dodge Charger Challengers are also a thing that has come and gone. They've tried to go pure EV with that. That was a flop. Now there's talking about bringing the engines back and the internal combustion side of it. So ultimately, Dodge has been flip-flopping back and forth. If there's one thing we can say, it's largely an obsolete brand, other than the Dodge Hornet, which is essentially an Alfa Romeo Tonale. Now, most people love them. What they don't love are the high price to buy in. Dodge isn't faring very well. With their driving experience of around 67 points, the overall reliability in the tank. But when you ask customers their overall average satisfaction level, they still give it a thumbs up. They still love their overall Dodge experience. Ranks around 55, and guess what? We're not done yet. Now, sadly, GMC, the overall reliability is not good. We've heard problems again with that 6.2 and the 5.3 V8s. So they've had to change the oiling. They've had to put a little heavier oil. They also suggested that supply chain gave some Mexican-built crankshafts a lack of polish, and the miking measurements weren't necessarily in tolerance. People certainly finding a lot of issues with a lot of these modern-day GMC pickup trucks, whether it's a 6.2, whether it's a 5.3. A lot of these GMC vehicles have been very problematic. Again, 10 high-speed autos, and even the diesel engines have had some troubles with fuel modules. We can't forget about the EV Hummer, extraordinarily expensive and loaded with tech. They're going to visit the dealer several times in a given year just to get some sort of reboot, reset, and something changed and working again. Unfortunately, GMC has had their share of problems with reliability issues, as well as the overall driving experience being high. People still love their GMs. Would you buy another one? Most customers, they love their GM, but they probably wouldn't do it just yet. And they're most, if you ask them, are waiting for the next generation of engines to see what they actually have up their sleeve. Consumer Reports ranks them at 55 points for the average GMC in terms of overall customer satisfaction in 26. And before we get to the last one, there's yet one more. Land Rover, go figure. Range Rover Sport, Discovery, I could go on, and there is no shortage of problems. The King and Queen of England would be proud, but they've got the budget to keep that thing on the road. Most people don't, and that's why most people just end up leasing it and tossing it out. Most people love the way they drive. They're beautiful, they're plush, they're lush, but it's not until it's time to experience these vehicles outside of warranty that people feel the true burn and the anguish and anxiety of owning these vehicles for every single mile. Turn the ignition on and you're waiting for that next check engine light because it could mean the next $9,000 repair every time you visit the dealer. Even average maintenance every year, it costs anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 just to do an oil service and give the thing a quick look over. It's an expensive proposition, and the overall driving experience is good, but the satisfaction is mediocre primarily because we're dealing with a relatively high level of unreliability with a lot of Range Rover and Land Rover products. Whether you're dealing with air ride suspension problems on the Range Rovers, panels I've seen pop off on the inside, they just don't fit quite right. O2 sensors, fuel injectors that are hard to get out of the heads, and they are in fact very failure prone. Y pipes on some of the older engines that can pop coolant, and leaks, coolant, oil, you name it. They can even leak oil and coolant from wiring. As a result, a lot of people, they'll try it once just to say they did, and most people will walk away. The average Land Rover only holds 52 points. We save the worst till the last. People who enjoy driving them, they actually get a driving experience of 64 because a lot of them actually deliver on what they promise. The lifestyle, the drive, the experience, and that's what people buy and they sign up for, not knowing what's waiting behind them. And that's a list of recalls, catastrophic failures, warnings to park your car outside because they could burn down to the ground, over-the-air updates that create a brick situation, catastrophic failures, engine oil consumption issues, transmission failures, electrical gremlins, tip-em problems, you name it. Jeep is the bottom of the barrel and the brand that almost everybody is so dissatisfied that they would never ever buy another. With 48 points based on Consumer Reports, Jeep is the worst of the worst. With all of that said, everybody, be sure to check out that list. You're going to love that. If you're looking for something a little bit more interesting and something that you can actually drive, you're going to love those vehicles. As well there, maybe you just want reliability. There's my fave. Hope to see each and every one of you real soon, everybody. See you then. Bye-bye.